In this video, we're going to be taking a look at estimating quotients. Now, the essential question is, how can you estimate decimal quotients? Now, it is important to turn your Go Math book to page 209 and follow along as we work through this video. And you will need your pencil and also your math journal out. Now, let's take a look at that problem on page 209. It says Carmen likes to ski. The ski resort where she goes to ski got 3 2/10 feet of snow during a 5-day period. The average daily snowfall for a given number of days is the quotient of the total amount of snowfall and the number of days. Estimate the average daily snowfall. Now it says you can estimate decimal quotients by using compatible numbers. When choosing compatible numbers, you can look at the whole number part of the decimal dividend or rename the decimal dividend as tenths or hundredths. Now let's take a look at this problem here. So if we're taking a look at 3 2/10 divided by 5, and we have Carly and her friend Marco each find an estimate. Since the divisor is greater than the dividend, they both first rename as 3 2/10 as tenths. Okay, so what we have here, 3 2/10 is 32 tenths. Okay, now from here, we can see what Carly did. Carly's estimate, 30 tenths is close to 32 tenths. And divided easily, or compatible number of 5. So use a basic fact to find 30 tenths divided by 5. Okay, so 30 tenths divided by 5 we know is 6 tenths, or 0.6. So we have from Carly's estimate, the average daily snowfall is about 6 tenths of a foot. We can write that there, right in your Go Math book. So we can see how Carly did that. Now, Marco's estimate, you have 35 tenths is close to 32 tenths. So instead of going to 30 as a compatible number of 5, Marco did 35. Okay, so 35 tenths is close to 32 tenths and divide easily by 5. Okay, so we use a basic fact to find 35 tenths divided by 5. So 35 tenths divided by 5 we know is 7 tenths, or 0.7. Okay, so you can see the two different estimates. Carly rounded that, or changed that 32 to a 30 to make it compatible with 5. Marco changed that 32 to 35 to make it a compatible number with 5. So now taking a look at that next question, whose estimate do you think is closer to the exact quotient? Now, what I want you to write down is Carly's estimate, and the reason why Carly's estimate is closer is because we know that 32 is closer than 30 is closer to 32 than 35 is. We know that 30 is just 2 away from 32. 35 is actually 3 greater than 32. And they would both use the same divisor, so Carly's estimate would be closer. And now one more thing before we move on. It is important that if you're changing this 3 2/10 to 32 tenths, understand that after you've done that 30 divided by 5, you do need to place that decimal point to where you have 1 digit to the right of the decimal. Why 1 digit to the right of the decimal? Because in our original problem, there's 1 digit to the right of the decimal. Same thing with 35 tenths. Okay, 3 5/10, for example, or 3 2/10 was our original problem. And it's important that even though we have 7 tenths, okay, as our answer, that we do write it as 0.7. Okay, let's take a look at that example problem on page 210. It says estimate with 2-digit divisors, and we have at the very top it says when you estimate quotients with compatible numbers, the number you use for the dividend, remember it can be greater than the dividend or less than the dividend. So it's the main thing that we need to understand is that it's a compatible number. Okay, now the problem on page 210 says a group of 31 students is going to visit the museum. The total cost for the tickets is $144.15. About how much will each student need to pay for a ticket? Okay, so letter A, it says use a whole number greater than the dividend. Okay, use 30 for the divisor. Why are we going to use 30 for the divisor? It's very important that we have nice even numbers to use whenever we're estimating. So 31, there's not really any compatible easy number to 31. Okay, that's just a basic fact. All right, so we're going to change that to 31. Then we think of that 3. Okay, and we think of that 144, and we need to think about what number is close to 14 that's compatible with 3. And I know that 15 is, so we can change that 14 to a 15, change that 4 to a 0, making it 150. Now that's pretty easy. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to divide $150 divided by 30. Whenever you have zeros at the end, both dividend and divisor, you can actually eliminate those. So now we just have 15 divided by 3. And 15 divided by 3 is going to give us 5. Okay, so $5 there. So each student will pay about $5 for a ticket. Okay, now if we're using a whole number less than the dividend, okay, first thing we still need to do in this problem here is change that divisor to the nearest whole, or the nearest 10. Okay, so we're taking that 31, making it into a 30. And then we can take a look at that 3 and take a look at our 14 in our original dividend. Understand we need to think about, okay, what is a close number to 14 that is compatible with 3? And I know that 12 is. We change that 14 to a 12. We change everything else to a 0, so that 4 is changed to a 0. So now we have $120 divided by 30. Whenever there's a dividend, a 0 in the dividend at the end and a 0 in the divisor at the very end, we can eliminate both of those. Then we can just divide $12 divided by 3. 12 divided by 3 is going to give us 4. So each student will pay about $4 for a ticket. So you can see you can use a number greater than the dividend, use a number less than the dividend. It's very important, though, that you do find a compatible number with that divisor. Okay, so let's take a look at that question here. Which estimate do you think will be a better estimate of the cost of the ticket? Okay, and we know that we can see here that the one where we change that $144.15 to $150 will be closer. Why will it be closer? Because really we're only adding 85 cents to that $144.15 to get it to $150. We actually had to take away a lot more money for letter B. Okay, so it's the closer estimate. We changed that dividend the least amount, so that would mean it would be the closer estimate. Okay, let's do these two problems in the share and show section. And it is very important to understand that we can increase the dividend, or we can decrease the amount of that dividend. Now we can see that we have 28 and 8/10 divided by 9. Now that 9 is a single digit, so we can just keep that 9 the same. Okay, now let's take a look at that 28. We need to think about what is the closest number to 28 that's compatible with 9. Now I know that 28 can be changed to a 27. That's a number that's compatible with 9. So we have decreased the value of the dividend, but it's very important to understand that you just find a compatible number. Now we have 27 divided by 9 is going to give us 3 for our estimated answer. Now let's take a look at the next one. We have 393 and 5/10 divided by 41. It's very important that you always look at that divisor, which is 41. We want to round that to the nearest 10. Okay, so 41 to the nearest 10 is actually going to give us 40. And so I kind of ignore that 0 for right now. And let's just take a look at that 4. And let's take a look at the two digits to the farthest to the left within my 393 and 5/10, and that is a 39. So I think about what number is closest to 39 that's compatible with 4, and I know that 40 is compatible with 4, so I'm going to change that 39 to a 40. I'm going to change that 3 to a 0, and I can actually eliminate my decimals. Okay, now remember, Very important to know that whenever you're estimating, you don't want to have any decimals. You want to have the most amount of zeros as possible to deal with. Okay, so what we can do is we can see that we have 400 divided by 40, and I know that I can eliminate a zero in my dividend because I can eliminate a zero in my divisor. Okay, now we have 40 divided by 4 is going to give us 10. So you can see you can increase the dividend that we did with 393 and 5/10, or you can decrease the dividend. However, it's very, very important that your estimate is reasonable, and also that you're not changing that dividend so much. In other words, I would not change that dividend to 18, or this dividend, to 48, 480 necessarily. It's important to find the closest compatible number that's compatible to the divisor. Now I want you to work through this problem. 15 and 5/10 divided by 4, and I want you to estimate this, and when you're finished you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, two estimated answers. 16 divided by 4 equals 4. I'll accept either of these. 12 divided by 4 equals 3. Now the closest estimate would be 16 divided by 4 because we only added 5/10 to that 15 and 5/10. Now let's take a look at the next problem here. 32 and 4/10 divided by 52. I want you to work through this problem. When you're finished, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Now for this problem, I have 6/10 as my answer. What I did is I changed that 32 and 4/10. I changed that to 324/10, and then I changed that to a compatible number of 5, okay, or a 50, which would be 300/10. So I have 300/10 divided by 50. I could eliminate my zeros, giving me 6/10. And let's take a look at $759.92 divided by 42. Work through this problem. When you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, we have $800 divided by 40. We changed both dividend and divisor, giving us the answer of $20. Okay, I want you to work through this test prep problem all by yourself. When you're finished, you can press play and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer is letter D. And going over the essential question, how can you estimate decimal quotients? You can take a look at that possible answer, and it's very important to understand that you have to choose a compatible number. We're not rounding. Okay, it needs to be, the dividend needs to be compatible with the divisor. So this concludes the video on estimating quotients. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.